Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Van Helsing. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First off, we have Vanessa obviously being transported to 1896. She is Lillian Van Helsing. Interestingly enough, it's like she's inhabiting her body. She sees her, well, in a reflection, she looks like Lillian. She looks like Lillian to everyone else, but she sounds and acts like, well, Vanessa. Like, it's just kind of like her spirit is inhabiting Lily's body for that period of time. And it's such an interesting thing because in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of like it's all part of a memory, but at the same time, like what she says and does influences it. So it's like the memory shifts to kind of compensate. So it's almost like she's doing time travel, but not really time travel. Because it almost seems like, because the way the episode plays out, it's almost like, no, that's exactly how things played out in, like, in the memory. Like, things like, I guess it kind of shifts a little bit to fit, like, what she does within the memory, but in general, all the actions that are taken or stuff, things that Lily did, but at the same time, it makes you go, but maybe it's a little beyond that. Maybe in some weird way, there was some, like, teleportation, and Vanessa did get her mind there, and so things played out because Vanessa went back in time, and which I highly doubt it. It probably is just kind of like things kind of molded in that direction. So, because what's interesting is, well, for one, her husband Edward wasn't really in big belief of all this whole like vampires thing. In fact, he thought that she was crazy. He ended up talking about the fact that she had a psychotic break. I guess that was really her at first when she first found out about it. Maybe found out about her destiny. Maybe encountered a vampire then or there. But her husband just chalked it up to, oh, she's just a little crazy. So let's leave it at that. So I really like the servant of hers that she has, who is just kind of like so okay with everything. I mean, yeah, it freaked her out at first, but she's like, "Oh my god, I must have like gave you too much sleeping medicine because you're acting a little weird now." And then later on, that dude who ended up picking up the sword, the guard that was meant to make sure they stayed in the room, that he picked up the sword and he's playing with it and everything. And the moment like Vanessa kind of beats him up a little bit, and then she comes over and smashes him with the glass. And then Vanessa's like most of the way out the door and partway down the hallway, she's turning and you see her just kicking him over and over again. It's like, okay, I guess it's, considering the time and everything, sadly, like the way women weren't, represented in that particular time period, because even Vanessa tried to make her feel better. It's like, oh yeah, the fact of the matter is women will have powers, because she's like, oh, she's so envious of Lily, because it's like, oh man, you go on so much adventure. She's like, I'm not really too keen about the whole having to fight monsters thing. Oh, but the adventures kind of do what you want type of thing. So also the fact that she got trained by a guy named Master Sui, which was interesting because I was like, oh, is she literally about to learn martial arts? Because she doesn't really know like actual. It's just more kind of a fly by the seat of her pants type of situation, or just like she fights, but it's not like she has anything like proper training when it comes to the whole thing. I mean, we don't know the lasting effects of taking this. What is the term for this? I think I was trying to think about it last time. Spirit Quest? Is that the name of it? It's something. It's a different word I'm trying to think of, but nevertheless, kind of like her spiritual quest in this sense. Like, I wonder if everything she experienced in that memory, like besides the memories that she experienced within the memory, will any of her experiences transfer over? Like, I'm sure, because a lot of that's kind of mental stuff. It's not like she needs the muscle memory for it. I guess her brain kind of compensates for the muscle memory because the muscle memory is in your brain. Well, I mean, it's in your body too, isn't it? Like, isn't it? Is that all tied together? Like, I think I've always interpreted muscle memory as just being in your body. Like, your body's memory, but that's all tied to your brain too. Like your brain remembers what signals to kind of send to your body to do what certain actions. That's me getting too much into that. I'm going on a tangent. Ignore me. I apologize. But nevertheless, I'm just assuming she'll remember, so she'll be able to use a lot of what she learned. Because her biggest issue is the fact is she gets angry easily, which isn't something I think that's just her. I mean, I think it's probably a combination of her, but it's also like just her whole circumstance. I think the vampire side of her, like Vanessa's always kind of shown, even from the very beginning, like even before everything went down with the Rising, before she died and came back, like, and had all her abilities and stuff, like she had a temper. I think that was kind of always been her greatest thing, because she's always kind of given into her temper, which kind of feeds into that vampiric side of her even more. So the master had taught her like how to control that a little bit more. It's kind of interesting. He almost had this like crouching tiger, hidden dragon type of wisdom and air about him. And it's kind of sad things ended the way they did for him. Like, he died from the poison. I wonder, was there any aftermath of that? Because like the only thing that can cure the poison is the blood of the Ba, and the you don't think that did anything? I mean, no, because like Vanessa's whole situation came about because of just stuff that we know that the fake Abigail is the reason why they kind of ended up in the circumstances they were, just because she wanted to see what would happen to him. So I'm just wondering if there were any lasting effects of you ingesting her. I guess because it was just meant to counter the poison, it didn't really have any other effects. Because I was curious too, like about the whole, like, because even Vanessa was wondering about going back to the timeline change type of thing. Because it's like it's a memory and stuff like that, but it's like Edward's supposed to be here like 10 years later to put Lily in the asylum and everything, and then like the Ba rips her throat out. I also appreciate because the Ba's like, wait, you're not you're not Lily, you're something else. And it's like, oh, this is a memory. The fact of the matter is another Elber put you in there. It's like, man, there's some existential, like, I guess that shows you just how powerful, like, they can, like, that she's able to, like, perceive that Vanessa's there, that this is someone from the future. And that's definitely going to be interesting when they eventually cross paths again. But it's even kind of like the whole point of what I was talking about, because it's like, she's laying down and then she stabs the Ba, landing that one blow, the one blow that Lily landed, but it's like Vanessa landed it. So that's hence why I'm kind of like, it's hard to say, like, whether it's just things played out the way that they were always going to play out, or, maybe some little changes here and there. I don't know. You almost kind of felt like you would have had a lot more of a conclusive thing of just like, oh man, things are, well, I guess they did to a certain extent, because we end up finding out that this is all about like this shipping company and all the people that they ate, because around this time the bubonic plague is going a little out there. So because normally like vampires in particular would just kind of stay to the countryside, pick off people here and there, but now they kind of go into the city because of bubonic plague spreading. They decided to head into the city to get fresh blood, but then they kind of run at the end of the episode. So it's like that's how they got to where they are in North America. Because it seems like they go, at the very least, the Ba went to San Francisco. So. But what I was trying to say before was kind of like you thought like there'd be some big resolution, and then I guess that was it. But still, you kind of felt like, oh, there'd be a closing to it, and then she popped back into reality. It's like upon finding out, like, okay, what happened to the Ba? Like, I guess that was enough for her to go, okay, like I'm ready to come back now subconsciously. It's interesting because we end up finding out, like, Vanessa kind of pieces it together, like like you would expect with this thing. It's like, oh, how long have I been gone? I've been literally been seconds since the last episode, which is like, oh, I love it because it's all kind of a mental thing that all took place at once. Now in retrospect too, we kind of understand why Edward was so down for whatever Lily, because that kind of surprised me, because I was like, oh, he's super against all this. He's kind of thinking you're crazy and stuff like that. It's also because at that point it's like, oh, know your place and everything, kind of acting like an asshole, but it's like, oh, you're a guy at that time, so you didn't know any better. Not really like that's much of an excuse, but still kind of a dick. So, but it seems like he kind of changed everything in a moment. It's like, oh yeah, monsters like that exist. My wife isn't crazy. So there's that. Like I said, it's interesting too because like this kind of plays with it too. Like I bring it up like every so often, Van Helsing will introduce other vampires like the Shadow Walkers, like the fast movements they have and all that. Like that's another breed of vampire we haven't seen. Maybe even to this day, present day, they only exist in like the Asian side of like it's probably the only place. Well, I mean, we know that they roll with the Ba, so it's like we'll probably still see them again once we cross the Ba, because it's like different vampires have different people. Because like a lot of the vampires we saw were the ones that were kicking essentially with Dimitri, because they're the ones who kind of spread out all over the vampirism like over the course of this story. So unless you find other like powerhouse vampires like the elders, you probably won't find other vampires with kind of different aspects and abilities to them. I mean, because like I said, you don't know what led to the vampire from the previous episode being the way that he was. Was that like an experiment, or was that just like a natural thing that happened to him? So, but getting back to what I was saying before, that Vanessa's kind of like, oh, you want to be free. She's like, okay, you're free. I'm like, wait, what are you doing? Like, I was like, are you secretly going to keep the totem or whatever? I'm like, I'm not understanding what you're planning on doing. And she's like, no, you're free. And is about to hand him his totem and everything. And then she's like, yeah, I can't have too many elders running around just for one to end up betraying me. And she stabs the elder, which it's looking like Susan. So that hits me on two levels. One, it kind of bums me out a little bit because I'm like, oh man, I thought we're gonna have like this little team, you know? It's like Vanessa, the Elder, Scarlet, Axel. I thought that was gonna be the squad, the team. I was like, oh man, that's so interesting. I mean, at the same time, it's like, yeah, that makes you a little too overpowered because you have like this crazy powerful vampire by your side. Two, I mean, is it really gonna be that easy to kill? I mean, I guess, you know, stabbing it in the right spot, like, you know, elders, even as powerful as they are, they might be strong, but they're still vampires, so it's not like they're 100% immortal, so I guess it was just enough to kill them. Interestingly enough, it's the same sword that stabbed the Ba, and now it ends up killing the elder. I'm curious, like, I mean, is it really dead? Did Vanessa, like, make sure, so are we going to see it pop up or not? She saw the totem being brought. She's like, oh, she's taking the totem with her. So my question is, because we see at the end her eyes glowing red, so, and then they fade away. So either that's just being like okay, like whatever the elder did to her, whatever kickstarted in her system, either that it was it kind of fading away because the elder died, like whatever he did, or it's suggesting like maybe they're positioning Vanessa to kind of like become an elder with what she's going through. Like her strength and stuff is growing. The vampire inside of her is getting that much stronger. So she's going to become borderlining a elder potentially, especially because she's holding on to the totem because her mom said to destroy them. So we'll see in the end what she does. I mean, maybe like if she kind of embraces it and becomes like an elder or whatever, maybe she can utilize it. Could we, beyond being connected to the Dark One, we don't know other than that what the totems really do for the elders, like whether it channels their powers or is it just like what do they actually benefit from it, especially because this elder was like, no, give it back to me. So like, you know, I mean, he looked at it more like it was kind of like a precious thing, but it's kind of like maybe there's some secret component or power to it. Maybe like a fraction of their own power is sealed within it, or at the very least, it helps unlock their full potential or something. I don't know. But yeah, like I said, that whole killing an elder thing kind of got me off guard. I mean, it's like you want them all dead anyway, but I was like, man, I want this to be like a ragtag team group. It's like, it's like we get 3 episodes into this, well, 4 episodes, wait. 3, because God, my math is terrible. We get 3 episodes in the season and it's dead. It's like, oh, that's kind of a shame, especially after it puts you through that memory trials and everything like that. But then at the same time, it's like, yeah, I was kind of hoping you weren't going to come back too, because it would have, I mean, that still would have screwed it over anyway, but maybe it would have convinced Scarlet to let it do that too. Maybe if Vanessa died, considering like she's like, I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I guess in this particular case, since it's taking orders from her, the moment she dies, like, the bond is completely will be broken enough, because it's like you still would have to have Scarlet to deal with, and Scarlet wouldn't be down for that. Maybe it kind of forced the situation upon Scarlet. Let's just say, oh, and here, because it doesn't. Well, it doesn't. I don't. It just needed the excuse of Vanessa being okay with it, but I'm sure it could. It does. It's not like, oh, I need your permission to kind of like teleport your memory inside of another memory, or your subconscious inside of a memory. So those are my thoughts about it. So, well, that is, you know, like I said, one elder down, not the elder we really thought was going to be next on the list because it's supposed to be the boss, but I mean, the boss is still on the list, so our group is going to be heading to San Fran. It's going to be interesting to see what goes, because like where are they now? Because I know, didn't, God, season 1 took place in Seattle, right? The whole hospital thing took place in Seattle. I don't remember where they were in well, they ended up moving around quite a bit in season 2, so I don't remember. So it's going to be interesting to see what the whole San Fran situation ends up being like. Also, I'm curious, like, when or if we are, I'd assume we're going to cut back to the others at some point, but it's just so interesting because it's like front loading it with a lot of like Vanessa, Scarlet, and Axel. I mean, I feel like this is kind of like the big focal point. So we'll see, you know. Because I'm also curious, like, what else is carrying over from this episode in the sense of, like, from those memories, like all the stuff she picked up about the other families that are connected to the Van Helsings and stuff like that. Because it's actually kind of interesting because apparently the Ba has said, like, her, Lily's grandfather, Abraham, was actually came close to chopping her head off. So, that also kind of, I guess, fits into what I was bringing up before, too, because I was wondering, like, how much of what Vanessa can do is, like, 100% her vampire side, and how much is just her naturally as a Van Helsing kind of kicking ass. I think the vampire side of her makes her a lot more action back, because even Scarlet had to train to get as good as she was, and so as we saw, Lily wasn't well skilled. That was probably, like, the first bit of official training that Lily had. Probably the only official training Vanessa's ever had, because a lot of her fighting's always, like I said, it's kind of been like, it's not like proper training. It's always just been like, instinct more so than anything. So, but I think her vampire side kind of pushes her along and gives her a good enough advantage. But like, I guess being able to control her anger and emotions going forward, especially considering the vampire side, will be a big helpful thing. But I'm curious, like I said, to see if any of those other names that came up, during the episode, whether that will turn into anything or not. Ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good